do it.
So first of all, what's kind of your background in real estate? How long you've been in the industry, and what roles have you played?
Yeah. So this is my 24th year, actually.
Wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
24.
I always say when I'm on stage, I always say I started at 15. Which
Yeah.
that joke used to be funny, but now people are like, yeah, you're a lot older than you think. So yeah, it's my 24th year. I left school and I opened up a real estate magazine in Louisville, and I didn't know anyone from Adam, for lack of better pun, but and so yeah, I've always just been in and around the real estate transaction. So I've always worked with realtors, and so I sold that magazine. And then I went and worked for the parent company that owned basically most of the magazines, over 1,000 magazines across the country. And so we managed those magazines, and we developed technology along the way that helped the realtor market to homeowners. And then the last 4 or 5 years before I joined Propy, I was in home warranty vertical, partnering with big brokerages across the country.
Yeah.
And then the last couple of years there, I was working with big platforms to be able to integrate the home warranty into the real estate transaction. I started really leaning into the prop tech space more.
Yeah.
And then about a little over a year ago, I joined Propy as a principal here. Technically, I'm the VP of broker development, but it's really just sales, industry relations, working with brokers on how to leverage crypto, Web3, whether it's blockchain, whether it's metaverse, whether it's NFTs into today's real estate transaction.
Yeah.
And so it's been fun to leverage kind of those 24 years of relationship and knowing the real estate process. But most of the Web3 stuff is really, really new and evolving daily.
Yeah. Yeah. So I noticed throughout your career, it was like you were implementing technology into the real estate world. So I guess that kind of lends itself to discovering Web3 and all that, but what attracted you specifically to Propy?
Yeah, it's funny. Well, the team there is really good. We have, I think, the best team in the industry. Our CEO is a brilliant thought leader as it relates to Web3 and real estate, and so I'm really proud of what she's accomplished and how we try to make the real estate transaction more transparent. But it reminds me a little bit of, at one point, just to kind of date myself, we and my team and I were the largest provider of content to Zillow. When the aggregation game started, we had a media company that we had rights to all these listings. Zillow was just starting off. Earl and I met with Spencer and his team. They needed content, and a colleague of mine at the time ended up going there, and I said to her, it just won't work.
Yeah.
Because at that time, the broker owned the data, and there was no reciprocity, there was no IDX feeds. And so you'd go to RE/MAX to look at RE/MAX homes. You'd go to Coldwell Banker here in St. Louis, Coldwell Banker Gundaker to look at the Coldwell homes. And there was no ability for brokers to share that data. But kudos to Zillow for giving the homeowner what is best, which we take for granted now, because you just open up a browser, and even if you went on to your website, BerkshireHathawaySelect.com, you could see everyone's listings because that's what the homeowner wants.
Yeah.
But back then it wasn't. And the thing about, to answer your question, the thing about Web3 when Propy approached me was it feels a lot like that.
Yeah.
You're at the very beginning of this really strong wave of emerging technology in real estate. And the first time I missed it. And so the second time I really kind of want to make sure I was excited about it and kind of got in front of it. And so, NFT, the first home ever, launching the first title company that's ever powered by blockchain, launching the first ever NFT avatar collection for realtors. A lot of those things are pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting to see the evolution of, listings being available on Zillow, watching how that technology impacted everything. And it kind of, so at first Zillow was limited to the listings that they could feature on their site. I wasn't here for the evolution, so I guess I wasn't familiar with how that process took place. Now, did they then partner with the MLS, or is that how they're now able to list all the properties?
Yeah, I won't tell this story accurately, but I lived it, so I know it pretty well. So they did a lot of things really well, and they did a lot of things really poorly, and they would be the first to tell you that.
Yeah.
a funny side. I just spoke at a Zillow meeting not too long ago, and they were really nice to give me this really nice Zillow jacket.
Yeah.
And so I like the jacket. It's a Lululemon jacket. It's a nice jacket. And so I was wearing it at the airport, and I was sitting there eating by myself. And unbeknownst to me, an agent came up to me and said, "Hey, do you work for Zillow?" I said, "Actually, no, I don't. But they just, gave me the jacket." And the agent, she says to me without missing a beat, "Good, because I effing hate that place." And so Zillow is so funny that they've created this brand that's synonymous with how you search, but it's a love-hate relationship with agents. And so how they launched was they did a lot of the things that you mentioned. They partnered with a lot of brokerages. They partnered with some MLSs, select MLSs. They even brought in some brokerages that were holdouts to be shareholders, stakeholders in Zillow. They partnered with a lot of MLSs to start. Some MLSs held out, notably down in Houston, Bob Hale and that group were one of the last to join. But once they kind of got enough content to create the user experience fair, equitable, then all the rest of the companies that weren't partnering with Zillow or giving data to Zillow were missing out on that. And then after that, you had kind of your list hubs, your IDXs of the world, and just got together and said, "Hey, we're all brokers. Let's sign up on reciprocity. Let's all agree that it's good for the homeowner." But it was about a 24 to 3 year period where Zillow was literally sending people out to MLSs to, ask for their content. They were working with companies like ours where we'd let them borrow our content.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of money on headcount and resources to go out and persuade, hundreds, if not thousands. I think at that point there was almost 1,000 different MLSs, and they were spending a lot of money to lobby those MLSs and work with them. And so, a lot of this reciprocity kind of IDX feeds came from, their hard work.
Yeah.
It's paid off for them.
Look at them now. Seriously. And that's an interesting perspective too, because I hear that a lot in the realtor community too, where, some of the agents who have been in the business for forever, since pre-Zillow, have that same attitude of like, I hate Zillow, but I definitely don't come from that school of thought. I think anything that helps my clients is good. It's good for the market. So I'll even text listing, like some people won't share anything from Zillow, but I'll even, text over to clients, things I find that'll pop up even on Zillow, because I just think it's another piece of technology that helps the client. And that's kind of what led me into Web3 myself and learning about companies like yours, Propy, is like, you kind of want to be on the right side of technology. And if the goal is to help the consumer, then you're probably on the right side of it.
Yeah, if it's to help the consumer and be more transparent. And anytime you think that by you not promoting something, it's better for your business, but yet the homeowner has access to it, you're really kind of just burying your head in the sand.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's where it's always interesting. Those old school brokers who didn't like Zillow, they were okay with, spending tens of thousands of dollars every Sunday in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
Right.
And so, it's the marketing has just evolved. And to say, hey, I'm not going to be on Zillow or share with my clients. Well, your clients are already on there.
Yeah.
And a little bit that applies to kind of Web3 and emerging technology is, hey, I don't feel like I need to know this yet until my clients do. Well, kind of horse out of the barn with crypto and blockchain. Most clients know about it. And so we don't expect our agents to be knowledge experts like you are, but we do want them to have a base level of knowledge so that if someone wanted to transact using crypto or close on blockchain, they at least know a partner who can help them with that.
Right. Yeah. And that's got to be the biggest goal right now, is getting that exposure and visibility so that they do know they can reach out and utilize you as a resource.
Yeah, and the ones who know us do.
Yeah.
And the other portion don't know who we are, and so it's a constant battle of serving the ones who know you and then trying to get the word out to those who don't. So we do a tremendous amount of teaching. We do a tremendous amount of speaking. Most major brokerages work with us pretty closely, and so we're always just trying to get that word out there. Although this crypto market isn't helping tremendously.
Yeah, it's tough to build a blockchain business in a bear market.
yeah, it has its advantages, but it's funny. Crypto enthusiasts will just say, now it's time to buy more.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can't just run around the world saying, hey, it's always time to buy more when prices go down. There's probably some better logic to that. But, we're just at the beginning of it. And that's where I think a lot of realtors, the biggest misconception is, oh, I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it. It's too complicated for me. It's a little bit like people that would have said that about Zillow or the internet back in the day. It's really just starting. And so for agents to get on board, it's they have plenty of time.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like, because another thing I'll hear in a bear market that's kind of a joke of the guys who have been in Bitcoin forever. They're like, it's a bear market when everybody's referencing the fundamentals. It's like, we're getting back to the fundamentals, why this technology is, a net positive for the world, and, what goals we're really working toward are, the fundamentals and technological advancement, as opposed to, the individual coins that you're investing in. So
yeah, I was just watching a documentary over the weekend about, of all things, anarchist, which I'm not an anarchist. It was just a weird documentary. And it documented how Bitcoin had peaked at 17,000 and people were going crazy. Then it went back down and then people were really struggling. And then I think it was like last November, it was high as, 69.5.
Yeah.
And so there's always a new high and low.
Yeah.
And it's a long, patient game.
Yeah. 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 That's interesting. So I guess kind of shifting into Propy's offering, my last 3 videos have specifically been on NFTs in real estate. So to you, what are the biggest advantages of incorporating the NFT into the real estate transaction?
Well, I think there's a lot. You did a good job of covering them, so I don't want to bore people. But I think the transparency one is really good. I think anytime you could do something that's fundamentally good for all, I think that's a really good check mark, right? Transparency. There's no one's ever said, hey, I like to be less transparent. And if you look at the real estate transaction in general, a lot of it's predicated on not being transparent.
Right.
And if you look at, if I listed my home with you today, and let's say you got 20 offers over the weekend, which I'm sure you've had days where you've had 20 offers on a listing. And me as a seller, I have no idea those offers are coming in or what they are. That's a really blind spot for real estate.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we really love about the NFT process and our Propy platform is 100% of offers that were to be made on a listing get shared with that homeowner in real time.
Yeah.
And so from your perspective, let's say you and I go to a Blues game and then you leave the Blues game and you got 6 offers. Your ability to look at those offers, evaluate those offers, and then talk to the homeowner in a reasonable fashion because they might have already seen them. I think that makes a lot more sense than you come out of the Blues game and then you say, okay, you ready? Let's go over all 6 of these together.
Yeah.
So transparency is really paramount in Web3.
Yeah.
People think it's just the opposite, but all Web3, if you look at the beauty of blockchain and crypto, is the transparency of it is what really makes it powerful. And so that's number one for the NFT process that makes me excited. 2 is the ability to move liquid assets quicker, more quickly, i.e. if I own an NFT and I want to sell it to you in real time, there'll be a time that we can sit at lunch and sell each other a house from our wallet to wallet. And I think that's long overdue.
Yeah.
We created this process that even a cash deal here in St. Louis takes at least 7 to 9 days.
Yeah.
A typical real estate transaction takes over 45.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense that I can't buy a $100,000 condo quickly, but I can go buy, $500,000 McLaren, in 15 minutes. Not that I have bought a McLaren or any car.
But you could.
Right. And so it's that's where you look at the process, and the NFT process will really smooth that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it has already. We've NFT'd several houses publicly, and we've NFT'd others privately.
Yeah, that is another question that I'd had. So I know there's like the full NFT versus, so I was reading on the website and I can't remember the term for it. That was like 300 deals had been done. That was just, I think, NFT deeds versus full NFT.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance to it, and a lot of it's state by state. And a lot of it is just beginning. Like we're so new into it and regulations are slow to evolve and some states are quick to evolve. But, full blown NFTs, we've done several legally with no issue. There are a lot of companies that will NFT your deed, which is different than NFTing the full
Right.
ownership of the house. And so we're excited about that. The beauty of it is using real smart contracts to be able to facilitate, real assets in real time. And not to get super nerdy on you, but that's what the NFT process really is. Be able to trade or sell or share with family upon passing real assets in real time without having, convoluted kind of Byzantine procedure involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's exciting. I mean, it's not going to revolutionize day-to-day real estate anytime in the foreseeable future, but there will be a time when blockchain becomes more incorporated into municipalities and less custodialized data, where it will be all houses are sold as NFTs on chain, wallet to wallet, with a stable coin, probably US stable coin, in real time. And that'll happen well within your career. I think it'll happen relatively quickly. I really do. And it won't be based on the volatility of crypto, because the beauty of blockchain and the volatility of crypto are completely separate things.
Yeah, right.
And so people always want to put crypto and blockchain together, and they're completely different.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to kind of educate on. It's one of my missions is to separate the two, explain that it's that blockchain technology that I'm really trying to focus on, regardless of I love crypto as well, but understanding the difference is very important for the consumer at this point. And I think maybe even more important for the municipalities or the powers that be, which I guess would bring me to my next question. What do you think is the biggest hurdle to getting this blockchain-based real estate world to the mainstream, where it's whether it's the CBDC being introduced, or just does the chain come first or the CBDC come first?
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting question, because real estate is so municipal based. Even here in Missouri, we have a state governance. Then within the county, we have a different set of regulations. And
right.
Within your brokerage, you probably have a different set of rules and regulations. And so I think you and I were talking off camera. At one point, there was over 900 MLSs.
Yeah.
Which at one point made sense when we, printed the books and we had to make sure that the people were selling the right houses to the right plat.
Right.
But a lot of that kind of archaic nature is now it's just kind of silly. And so, to answer your question, I think municipalities will be slow to evolve on blockchain, because I don't think it fundamentally brings more revenue in. I just think it's a cost that a lot of them won't want to absorb. I think mortgage companies and DeFi lending will start to use blockchain. A lot of them already have. We work with several of them. Title companies will be kind of somewhat in the middle. They will evolve. Title companies are smart. People give them a black eye for that. But we've already closed over 4.5 billion homes on chain.
Right.
We use the Ethereum network, but we've started closing houses on chain, and we do get buyers and sellers that want us to do that for them. But I think it's in the foreseeable future where municipalities will say, okay, hey, here's an open chain, close everything on here. You guys can use the data as public record. We'll pull it off our own custodialized needs.
Yeah.
We'll obviously redact some private information from chain when it goes to the smart contract to get on there. But I think that's going to happen sooner than later. And I think you're going to see pretty aggressive states do that. But it'll happen state by state. And then once one or two states do it really well, a lot of them will say, okay, is there a real cost saving? Is there a value there?
Yeah.
Is there transparency to the homeowner? Does it create more, streamlined process for us to maybe save money?
Yeah.
But the government in general isn't great at looking at ways to save money.
Right. Yeah, we've seen that.
Right.
So, so you were talking about like different states are going to move quicker than others. Mm-hmm. Which states have you seen as been the quickest adopters, most excited about implementing this technology?
It's, you know, like Wyoming is a really interesting state. They're doing some
Really?
interesting things. Yeah, North
Jackson
Dakota
Hole?
is doing some interesting things, like Delaware, West Virginia. But I think the obvious ones will be, you know, Florida,
Yeah.
just because it's the crypto capital, especially South Florida. They get so much. There's so much lobbyist money in Florida now for crypto that I think Florida will be the first to evolve. I hope so. Anyway, we're close. Well, the crypto community is close with Mayor Suarez in Miami.
Yeah.
I think he's got a bright political future ahead of him. And I think Florida, I don't know how. When I was a kid, they were like the land that people went to retire, but they've really become a real strong tech sector, tech hub.
Yeah.
They've gotten really, really smart.
Yeah.
I think they're pro-business fundamentally from a government standpoint. So I think that will be the one that probably will evolve move the needle the quickest of the first.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It's funny you say they're becoming that tech hub. I actually have two of my brothers are in tech sales, and they moved down to Miami. One moved a year ago and one's moving this month.
Well, no state income tax in Miami. They're pretty good recruiting tools.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, Miami's beautiful. I love it. And they had that Miami coin going for, and that's still
The city
operating,
token.
right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, even St. Louis's favorite prodigal hockey player, the
Yeah.
son, he moved down to South Florida.
Yeah, he even took his talents down there. How about that?
South Beach. Yeah, but yeah, it's a really good recruiting tool.
Yeah.
And so I think Florida's at a really good place. We've done several NFT homes in Florida. We do probably a third of our speaking engagements to realtors are in Florida. It's a very, it's a high thought of topic down there.
Nice. Yeah, because originally when I was thinking of it, I was like, maybe California would be the quickest to move, but I guess being that it's crypto related, Florida makes sense. And
I think Florida's just really their state. They're very pro business.
Yeah.
Whereas California can be a bit litigious and more challenging to work things through.
Yeah.
But I'm not an expert on the topic, so I think Florida will be the first, though.
That makes sense. And outside of the United States, because I know your first NFT deal was somewhere in the Ukraine, correct?
Yeah.
So what country outside the United States have you seen being, I guess, the most bullish on this technology?
I mean, like the UAE, Dubai, all that area is super
right.
bullish on crypto. The entire world is more crypto fluent. I shouldn't say the entire world. That's not true. Most countries, especially in the European bloc, are more crypto friendly than we are. And a lot, life in general is about perspective. We have, we don't have issues with title ownership. We don't have issue with volatility in our currency. We have the most, stable currency in the world.
Yeah.
If you want to buy oil through the Saudis, you have to use the U.S. dollar, which helps tremendously. We have a tremendously stable government. Although when you're here, you don't know that because you hear about all the things that the government's doing wrong. Right. But if you look at other countries where, especially developing countries where the currency has huge fluctuations, where generational wealth is not passed down landowner to landowner, where you have literally warlords that come in and just take things over and say,
right.
Hey, now this is my house or farm or land. I think those countries really appreciate the immutability of crypto and blockchain.
Yeah.
And they also appreciate the transparency of it. And so, I mean, even here in the U.S., the only example I really have, and I use this sometimes, is, I'm going to get the stats wrong, but it's directionally accurate. There's around $7 million of property in New Orleans where the county recorder's office, I think it's in the 9th Ward, they got flooded out, that no one quite knows who owns which piece of land and home.
Interesting.
Because the county recorder's office got flooded out in Katrina.
Yeah.
And so, the beauty of blockchain is once it goes on chain, you could have a flood, you can have, a dictator come through, and once they leave, you can go back to the rules and regulations. It's always there for everyone to see.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. And I think that's a perspective that's hard for Americans to kind of gauge, especially if you were born in America, been raised here. It's hard to acknowledge the things that we have in place that not everybody does have.
Yeah, I mean, perspective is really underrated. It's I heard a broker tell me the other day, hell, man, half of my agents have never even had to market a home. They don't know what they're going to have to do.
Yeah.
And it's like a little bit like get off my lawn.
Yeah.
You know, marketing a home today, you put it on all these great sites where homeowners can look at it, and you do a good job of, you know, putting a lot of great photos on there, making it look appealing and make sure it's staged right and looks right, make sure it's priced right. But you can't blame people for not knowing how to properly market a house when you've had a great market. And the perspective is, hey, this is what it is. And so, you know, perspective is really funny. But even if you look at like crypto and blockchain, if you think about, you know, how many people even here in the U.S. send money back to their country to help out friends and family. And you think about the tremendous amounts of fees that a Western Union or a Venmo or a PayPal you take up with that money. You know, crypto's the real answer to that. You can transfer $100 worth of Bitcoin with no market volatility. And if I transfer to you, you keep all 100 and I lose the 100. And so there's no one in the middle of that. And if you think about people who send back a lot of money to other people in other countries, you know, that gives them more money to keep in their pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the, I guess, earlier value or utilities of Bitcoin, where it was like, this is an immediate use case for, you know, this type of currency. And I think it's cool to see that scaled. Like, okay, so now that we have blockchain, how can we scale that into industries at large other than just currency itself?
Yeah.
And obviously you're privy to that too, being with Propy. So I guess my next question would be, you do the NFT sales, and then there's also like the crypto to crypto transaction where it's simply, you know, buying a house for Bitcoin. Which one do you see being the front runner in the mainstream?
That's a good question. I think they're obviously tied together a little bit because all NFT transactions are wallet to wallet.
Right.
We use a true stable coin on our wallet to wallet transactions, not algorithmic.
And that's USDC, right?
Yeah, DC or TC.
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't matter really what it is, as long as it's not an algorithmic stable coin.
Right. We saw what happened with
Do Kwon and I think I got his name right, in South Korea. Yeah, but those are learning curves. I mean, like it's you know, that's part of the process. We're still really early in the process, and so, yeah, I mean, we saw, you know, people staking crypto with the unbelievable APRs. It didn't make sense, and so, you know, we've kind of worked through that a little bit. Hopefully, learned from it, but. And I think the U.S. government will come out with its own version of a stable coin that's backed by the U.S. dollar, which will eliminate a lot of that and will help tremendously with real estate because you'll eliminate ACH transactions, you'll eliminate wire fraud, you'll have the ability to give your son $20 in cash, but it's a digital cash,
right?
And so, you know, it's backed by the U.S. dollar, so I think it's going to be, you know, really, really interesting. So. I think the wallet-to-wallet transaction for cash deals is relatively soon. I think the NFTing of homes will you know, require municipalities to use chain as record keeping at a wholesale level, which I think will happen.
Yeah.
And I think it'll happen, and it'll be a real game changer. But until municipalities, you know, recognize blockchain in real time, the NFT process of us putting the house into an LLC and then transferring the LLC ownership, that becomes counterintuitive to some people.
Right.
But the crypto wallet to wallet, especially once the stable coin becomes a little bit more universally known, I think is going to be a big deal. I think 100% of transactions will be wallet to wallet using some sort of stable coin, hopefully US backed.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually thought it was interesting. This morning, I got a notification on my phone that said, Robinhood has now listed USDC, which is interesting because Robinhood is one of those things that I feel like has a really good gauge on the retail space and the mainstream consumer. So I thought it was pretty nice to see that they were bringing USDC onto the platform.
Yeah, I think it's smart. I mean, I think anytime you can open up investing, especially stable investing to the masses, and, you know, and fractional, like a good example is, you know, when I was a kid, to buy a stock, you had to be, you know, a guy in a white shirt and a big cigar.
Yeah.
And then, you know, kind of E-Trade made it a little bit more easily approachable, and not just E-Trade, but a lot of those companies. So I think, fractional investing on a large scale is really, really important. I mean, if you look at some stuff like Lofty AI, where they've tokenized houses down to the $50 increment, it's really, really interesting.
Yeah. 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 So I guess, we've seen what's already come to fruition for Propy.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything new that we should be aware of or keeping our eye out for that's next in line?
Yeah, we're launching the first ever NFT avatars for realtors. So we're launching those here in the next 30 days, which are pretty exciting.
Interesting.
We've got our Propy Tech Summit, which is happening here in October, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Where we bring, 500-600 of the smartest, brightest realtors in the country that are really kind of leading the way for Web3. So we're excited about that. Our blockchain enabled title company is now nationwide. So we're the first nationwide company. Yeah. Really excited about that.
Yeah.
Launching a title company at that scale is not easy. So the team has done a really good job of that. And so the thing we're most proud of is we close all transactions on chain.
Yeah.
And so
$4.5 billion worth thus far, right?
$4.5 billion worth. Yeah, exactly. You're paying attention. So that's the thing, is we've done a lot of the first ever NFT of a home, one of the first wallet-to-wallet transactions. We have our Elite Pro agents. We're the first agents on a large scale that will take crypto for transactions. We've helped, a lot of the big brokerages white label their crypto platforms and help their training programs. So
yeah.
We've done a lot of the first, and we'll continue to do that. But we're really excited about kind of closing on chain, closing title on distributed ledger to be able to kind of work towards that, because we know that's how the industry is going to go.
Yeah.
It's just someone has to kind of put the muscle behind doing it.
Yeah.
And then it'll get steam.
Nice. Yeah, that's really exciting. And then, I guess, to wrap up, is there anything else that you'd want to let the audience know about yourself, Propy? How can we find you? I know you're on LinkedIn. Any other social platforms?
I'm all over LinkedIn. I'm the one guy who doesn't have other social platforms, which for tech companies isn't smart, but it's just too much noise for me. But I am on LinkedIn, but propy.com has all of our latest offerings. I'm really easy to find, Adam at Propy.
Yeah.
All the people who I don't want finding me have found me there with that easy and
with
generic.
That easy email.
Yeah, a lot of them. And so, they can reach out anytime. And even any agents who are doing any sort of crypto deals, even if they've already got a title company, we help a lot of title companies work through those. We've done hundreds, if not getting into the thousands. And so we help facilitate those deals. And if agents have buyers or sellers that they want to kind of vet through that process, we can help them.
Yeah. Cool. Well, everybody, this was Adam Brown with Propy. Thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful. And like and subscribe. Share this with somebody who might be interested. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, bud.
Hey everybody, I'm Tommy Espenschied with Berkshire Hathaway Alliance Real Estate in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm here with Adam Brown from Propy.com.
Propy.
Okay, yeah, Propy.
Propy.
Yeah, okay. So I'm here with Adam Brown from Propy.com. It's a blockchain.
Propy, like as in property.
Property, yeah.
Property, not Propy, but Propy.
Okay, yeah. All right, everybody. This is Adam Brown from Propy.com, a blockchain.
Tommy. It's like Propy, like the fish crappie.
Oh, crappie.
Like property. Adam from Propy.
Okay.
Like property.
Okay.
Crappie.
All right, I got it.
Propy.
All right, guys. This is Adam Brown with Propy.com. He's here to talk about the blockchain-based real estate transactions that they've been executing.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's good.